Alright, so I'm gonna try something different for this video. I'm gonna try out a new form of content. It's still gonna be like commentary content over gameplay, but this time I'm gonna be telling scary stories from Reddit over some good old Diablo gameplay. This game right here is Diablo 2 Resurrected. If you didn't know, well, now you know. Alright, so my voice is going to be a little more serious and a little bit different for this style of video, and let's get right into the scary stories from Reddit. This is under the r/scary stories, and I'm not going to be, I don't own these stories or anything, I'm just going to be telling them, and yeah, I always listen to this type of content, so I figured I'd try it out for myself. So, let's get into the spooks. Also, I do apologize for the lack of content this week, or technically last week. Yeah, my brain was completely mush, and yeah, I just wanted to take a little break and everything, because balancing this and work life is a little bit hard when you have a addiction to Diablo. If you couldn't tell, I've been playing Diablo like crazy. I started off having some Division in my background, but now it's just Diablo. Oh boy. Well, with that being said, I'm gonna try this content more often now too, and I'm gonna try this until I get some more, like, remember some more cringy stuff that's happened in my past. Excuse me. But until then, I hope you enjoy this super long video, and I don't know how often I'll upload. I'm probably just gonna do one video a week now, and it's probably, yeah, I hope you guys have a good Memorial Day and all that, and here's some nice old spooks. So this first story is called "My Husband is Dead and He's Still Living in My House" by Cat Bakers, posted 8 hours ago. My husband is dead and is still living in my home. It all started when my friend Lily introduced me to my husband Mark at a bar. We instantly hit it off and started to chat about things we had in common. At the end of the night, I got his number, and it was history from then on. A year ago, he started to work later, and he had become more aggressive with me than he ever was before. I brushed it off, though, thinking that it was just because he was aggravated from the later hours his boss made him work. He always came home demanding to know where I'd been that day and what I did. However, I just thought he was being protective. That all changed when he started to trash the house after I told him the report of the day. Why have you been around that area? You know it's sketchy, Sarah. You know it's sketchy, he screamed as he threw the couch pillows around the room, tearing paintings off the wall and breaking mirrors and windows. He almost hit our daughter, Evelyn, once. I eventually got so pissed off that I had to take Evelyn to her grandparents' house and have a talk with Mark. Mommy, why do I have to go to Grandma and Grandpa's? I miss Daddy, she said, frowning as I pulled her out of school. Daddy needs help, Ev. He isn't okay right now, and I'm going to help him. I spoke to her in a soft tone, placing her in the car, and clipped her seat tight. When she was dropped off, I drove myself to Mark's office. Music played in the background of the car, booming along with my growing anger towards Mark. How could he have become this bad? How could I let it get this bad? I remember thinking to myself, I should have done something, said something. I pulled into the parking lot nearly an hour later, demanding to talk to my husband. The lady at the front desk sighed. Ma'am, I keep telling you, Mark Harlot doesn't work here anymore. He was fired 3 months ago for scaring his coworkers. Please call him if you're that worried. I checked my phone, which had Mark's location turned on. Sure enough, he was in the same building I was. No, I know for a fact that he works here. Just look at my phone. See, it clearly says that he's in the vicinity, I hissed. The poor lady's face turned pale white as she looked up at me. How do you have Mark's location? I don't understand. Feel free to check the office, but you won't find him. She stuttered over her words and went back to typing useless information on her computer. I growled at her as I put my phone away in my pocket and walked down the hallway where Mark's location was. Stupid lady, the location clearly shows he's here. I'm not that dumb, I muttered to myself, thinking about why her face turned white. I turned to face a glass door that was lined with wood. Nails poked over the sides, giving a scary look to the door. However, I didn't mind it and started banging furiously on the door. Mark, open the goddamn door right now, I screamed, and the employees started staring at me. Oh, ma'am, please don't bang on the door that hard. If you have an appointment, check in with Sandra. They all stared at me like I was some kind of alien. I turned to face them and didn't speak another word. I simply walked closer to the end of the hallway. Only one more door left to check. However, as I neared the entrance, a stench of rotting meat met my nose. Fuck! That's disgusting, I thought to myself, plugging my nose and breathing through my mouth. I opened the door, and the inside was stained with a dark red coating. Chunks of God knows what were placed around the room, and on the small objects there. Dead in the middle was my husband. His rotting corpse lay still, almost like he truly was gone, but I knew that wasn't the case. Mark was still alive. Whoever this was wasn't my Mark. No, he wasn't. My Mark had been adapted to fit my needs. I remember his protesting as I locked him in the test tube of my science lab. Sarah, please, don't do this to me. I'll change, he pleaded and squealed like a pig. Oh, Mark, you're not the first to say that. There's been at least 20 of you before. You're just another failed experiment. You've become too hostile. You've almost hit Evelyn. You know that's unacceptable, I replied, pushing buttons to mold his body into a new Mark. Sarah, please, I love you. That never changed, no matter how many times I made a new Mark. He was always loving me in the end. I had gotten used to the guilt of killing my husband to make a new one. He was never enough for me or Evelyn. And Lily, poor Lily, she doesn't know I'm doing this. No one does. The last time I ever saw the real Mark was 12 years ago. Sarah, what are you doing? Stop joking around, he said, fear raising in his voice. Oh, but I'm not, Mark. I'm sorry. It's for the best. Sarah, please. I love you. Buzz, the generator turns on as his body is electrocuted and melted into a human goo to be reformed into a new and improved Mark. Sarah, what am I doing here? He asks. I'm not too sure. Let's go home, Mark. Oh, what the fuck? Oh, that turned quick. But yeah, as you can tell, these videos are not going to be very censored or, child friendly. I'm gonna definitely be, talking like this a lot. But yeah, I'm not gonna say curse words too much unless the story calls for it or unless it's an actual genuine curse word that comes out and is natural. But yeah, let's go on to the next story. All right, this next story is called I Need to Make This Quick. Something bit my hand. I need to make this quick. Something bit my hand. Posted by Narrow Muscle 9572 8 days ago. I need to make this quick. Something bit my hand. What you are about to read is both a confusing confession and an apology. I don't know how much time I have, so I will keep this as short as I can. I was coming back home from work a few nights ago. It was dark, and I was tired from my shift, when suddenly a deer ran out in front of my truck. I locked my brakes, but couldn't stop in time. Feeling my heart pounding, I just sat in my truck, staring at the motionless deer laying in the middle of the road. I had never killed anything before, intentionally or accidentally. As much as I wanted to get home, take a shower, and go to bed, I couldn't just let it lay there. Someone could run it over, causing real damage to their undercarriage, or God forbid they swerve to avoid it and end up falling over 100 feet into the river below, hitting dozens of trees on the way down. I couldn't let that be on my conscience, so I did what the good Lord Jesus would have done. I put on my emergency lights and got out of the truck to pull the carcass off the road. However, as I was doing this, I saw something move on the deer's lower gut. Seeing this made my heart sink because at the time I thought maybe the dead deer was going to give birth. While holding in a gag and pulling the body to get it off the road, whatever was in the deer crawled out of its backside and ran up the leg I was holding on to and bit my hand. It was too fast, and the night was too dark, so I have no idea what it could have been. Instinctively, I flung the creature off of me and heard it scamper away through the grass, wondering what the hell just attacked me. I inspected the wound. The wound produced very little blood and looked no worse than what a cat would do when it plays a little too roughly. Since my heart was pounding out of my chest and I had most of the deer carcass off the road, I figured I had done my duty, and it was time to head home. As soon as I got home, I barely had the energy to take off my clothes, so all hopes I had of taking a shower were lost, and as soon as my head hit the pillow, I was out like a light. The next morning, I felt sluggish and cold. My teeth were chattering violently. It reminded me of a flu, however my nose wasn't stuffed up and I wasn't congested. The wound on my hand was red but not swollen. Still, I was worried and made a call to set up a doctor's appointment. Thankfully, I was able to get seen right away. However, after the exam, the doctor said he could find nothing wrong with me, but the blood tests would take a few days before the results would come in. I am not the kind of person to tell someone how to do their job. I am not the kind of person to tell someone how to do their job, especially if their job meant years of education and twice that many having their own practice. However, I made it clear that I strongly disagreed with what the doctor said. When I got home, my stomach was complaining. I ate shortly before getting off work that day before, so there was no reason for my stomach to complain as much as it was. I tried eating soup, but it tasted like fermenting compost. No joke. That's what it tasted like. When I checked the expiration date, I was surprised that it still had 8 months left before it was considered bad. At the time, I figured that whatever was wrong with me was affecting my senses. My grandma said that 7-Up and ginger ale was as close to magic as it gets when it comes to being sick. But since I didn't have any in the house, I made a few calls and had it delivered. However, that too tasted bad. My stomach kept complaining, so in an attempt to silence it, I decided to make something that I could never resist. My mom's specialty, meatloaf. If nothing else, it was comfort food and my favorite as a kid. Lo and behold, it tasted amazing. However, when I tried adding ketchup like I always did, I nearly gagged from the smell of it. I ended up eating all of it in a single sitting, and afterwards I felt really good, so in fact that I decided to head into town to pick up a few groceries. As I walked around with the shopping cart going down the same aisles as I always did, the items I usually got held no appeal. I love bananas, but they smelt like they had been soaking in gasoline for a few days. The vegetables stink of curdled milk, and the cheese might as well have been, well, I'll let you imagine what that smelled like. The only thing that smelled good was the meat. No, it didn't smell good. It smelled divine, the way I imagine heaven smells like. I filled up my cart with hamburger, chicken breasts, pork chops, pork butt, whole turkeys, chicken legs, ribs, spiral hams, bacon, hot dogs, and so much more. People looked at me funny as I went to pay for the items, and some even asked if I was planning on having a cookout. I am ashamed to admit it, but I snapped at those people and told them it wasn't any of their business. When I got home, I felt sick again and decided that some pork chops were in order. As I started to get everything ready, I opened the cream of mushroom, and the smell that emerged from the can made me throw up in the sink. Later, I checked the expiration date and saw that it still had a few months to go. The can wasn't dented or punctured, so there was no reason for it to smell rancid. I cooked the pork chops plain, only adding a little olive oil on the bottom of the glassware so it wouldn't stick. The wait seemed to take forever. At some point before the pork chops were done, I found myself mindlessly eating away at the raw hamburger, taking grape-sized pinches here and there. I knew it was disgusting, but I couldn't stop myself. Each bite hit the spot and scratched an inch I didn't know I had. By this time, it was after office hours, but I called the general practitioner to see if there were any updates. All the while, I kept eating the raw meat. I was too embarrassed to tell them about my new eating habits, and instead, like an idiot, when I had nothing to say other than to ask about the blood test, which I knew the results would be in sometime next week. Because of this, I could tell the person on the other line was annoyed. I spent the rest of the day eating and worrying. I must have paced for a few miles before I decided to go to bed. At the time, I figured that I might be able to sleep off whatever was happening to me, and if this was not to be it, it would make the day that the blood test comes in arrive faster. However, I couldn't go a few hours without food before the cravings made me wake up and rummage through the fridge. I blacked out at some point during the night and found myself outside at the wooden fence trying to bait the neighbor's cat with a raw chicken leg that I already ate half of. I was scared, paranoid that whatever bit my hand might have given me something really nasty, but I knew that worrying about it wasn't going to do me any favors. So I decided to do what I normally do to clear my head and went for a drive. Usually this would have worked, but my stomach kept complaining. I had been eating for nearly a day straight, so I knew I wasn't hungry. What else could I do other than wait for the blood test to come back? Trying to distract myself, I decided to turn on the radio and listen to one of the 3 radio stations that worked in town. As I was fumbling with the knobs in my old beat-up truck, I turned the corner and saw a man walking across the street to get his mail. I hit the brakes as hard as I could, but it was a little too late, and he bounced off the grill and went flying through the air. Terrified, I ran out to see if there was anything I could do to help him. But when I drew close, I could see that he was all sorts of messed up. He was conscious and asked me to give him a ride to the hospital because he would not be able to afford the bill for an ambulance. However, that was when I noticed that the femur was sticking out of his leg. I licked my lips, and before I knew it, I started biting and eating around the bone as the man screamed. And in his condition, he was unable to get away or fight me off. I don't know how much time it passed, but at some point I became aware that people were starting to gather. All of them were too shocked to do anything but stare. Embarrassed and terrified, I ran to the truck and drove off. It wasn't like I could go anywhere, since Gary Hill is a small town. Most of the onlookers knew who I was, so I did the only thing I could think of and went home. There is so much more I want to say, but I don't have much time. The sirens are getting louder. I am sorry. Oh, that was crazy. Oh my god. But yeah, that was a good story right there. But yeah, in the comments, let me know how I did, you know. I hope you guys really enjoyed. Hit the like button. If you don't hit the like button, then I'm gonna have to swallow your soul. I'm kidding. But yeah, if you don't hit the like button, I'm gonna swallow your soul. Just like the Deadites from Evil Dead. I love those movies. But yeah. Also, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell notification. If you're new to this channel, welcome. The name's PORKCHOP. You know, I tell embarrassing stories about myself, and now apparently I tell, you know, scary stories from Reddit with some gameplay over it. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'm sorry if it was an extra super long video, but hey, you know, you gotta have more than one scary story. But yeah, next video is gonna be really way longer with more scary stories. And yeah, I just figured I'd pop out a quick one, you know, bust a quick nut, get this story thing going. But yeah, peace out. I hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah, I'll have better gameplay next time with less of me teleporting the town. Maybe the next video is gonna have Diablo 4 gameplay, because that's coming out soon, and I'm definitely excited for that. But yeah, until next time, PORKCHOP out. Peace. Bye. I love you guys.